You've watched the GoHighLevel videos, maybe you signed up for a demo, you've seen the income screenshots and the I replaced my entire stack and now my agency runs itself posts, and you still can't get a straight answer about whether HighLevel is actually worth it. Well, that's what I'm going to try to solve for you today. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to tell you what HighLevel genuinely does well, but also what is really frustrating about it. And I'll try to give you a clear way to think through whether this actually makes sense for you in your situation. I'll tell you the things that most high-level affiliates won't tell you, including that I'm one. So I want to be transparent and honest with you. I know when I was trying to decide whether to move to HighLevel, that's what I wanted. Now, you may be wondering, who is this guy and what's his deal? Fair enough. My name is Todd Heitner, and I've been running a niche SaaS style agency for over 20 years. Um, way longer than HighLevel has even been in existence. I've served out more than 2,000 clients across three different technology platforms. I've moved my active client base over to HighLevel from a WordPress heavy stack, not because everyone else was doing it, but because it solved a real operational problem that I couldn't seem to solve any other way. So here's what I'm going to cover in this: why I actually switched, the things that are going to frustrate you, especially if you go unprepared into this, and a simple way to figure out whether HighLevel is the right move for your business. So let's get started. Maybe like you, I watched HighLevel from the sidelines for longer than I probably should have. I knew that changing my tech stack was going to be a really big project, and I knew that learning something new would take time. My main concern, though, really was that I've been a WordPress guy for probably 15 to 18 years. Websites were central to what we delivered, and my worry was whether HighLevel could actually handle what we needed. Because most all-in-one platforms that I've seen up until that point were just kind of mediocre tools bundled together. None of them really good enough. But what changed for me was I started talking to agency owners that were running serious, seven-figure operations who had built their entire business on HighLevel. And I found out that even one of the biggest, best run marketing companies that I know of, it's an 8-figure business that's like double-digit millions, had moved their whole operations, to their whole operation to HighLevel. So I figured if the platform could handle what they were doing, there's no reason to think it couldn't handle what I needed. But that didn't mean I jumped in blind. It meant that HighLevel was worth evaluating seriously. So once I did, the case became pretty clear. Um, I'll just go over a few things that why this made sense for me. The real driver for me wasn't cost. It was that everything technical in my business ran through me. Every emergency, every why is this thing broken question came through me. And part of why it was messy was we had multiple versions of our service running simultaneously. So, I mean, you can imagine over 20 years, technology just kept changing and we would build a new version when it seemed like there was a better option. So we had older clients on older platforms, newer ones on newer platforms, but nothing was ever really good enough to move everybody to. And we have also two sides of our business for different niches. So basically, we had 4 different configurations, each set up a little differently. The backbone of all of it was WordPress, specifically WordPress multi-site. And if you've ever managed a large client base on WordPress, you kind of know what that means. You've got plugin updates, that go wrong and it messes up everybody's sites at once. Sites get hacked. You have plugin conflicts. There's just some sort of a crisis on a regular basis. I mean, I love WordPress, but yeah, there was a lot of tech headaches. Beyond WordPress, though, we had multiple CRMs, communication tools, scheduling software, a bunch of software subscriptions that mostly didn't talk to each other, connected by things like Zapier and Make, which worked sometimes. And we also had a part-time developer on our team. And on top of that, we were paying a second development firm basically to be on standby for emergencies. And, at some point you kind of realize you're not just running an agency, you're running an insurance operation against your own tech stack. So if you've been running an agency for any length of time, you've probably hit this wall that we were running into. You feel like you start building some momentum finally, and then a tech emergency happens and you have to spend the next week or more putting out fires instead of actually moving forward. It was super frustrating. So the realization that changed things for me was if we move to HighLevel, the tech doesn't have to run through me anymore because we're not on a custom built solution. My team can get help anywhere. There's thousands of YouTube videos. High-level support is available. Our team can go to them. There's a massive community out there using the same platform. The knowledge isn't just locked in my head. So think about what that means for your business. Not just fewer headaches, though that's real, but what it actually means to to not be the single point of failure in your own operation. Now, the cost savings were almost a bonus at that point, but they were real. I mean, for us, it was about $2,600 a month. Obviously, there were subscriptions we could cancel. Our hosting wasn't needed anymore. WordPress plugins weren't needed anymore. But the biggest one for us was the development costs that we were constantly paying just to keep things running. We didn't need that anymore. In other words, the developers that we were paying. Now, honestly, I hate putting people out of work, but even more, I hate having my own business struggling because I have so much overhead. And it really helped a lot with that. Now, I mentioned before about how, I've tried other all-in-one type platforms, and the concern that I had was, being let down before by those kind of things. A bunch of mediocre tools bundled together, none of them actually good enough to replace anything. But HighLevel, I did find was different. The core features are solid, and they keep getting better. I've even suggested improvements, and I've seen those get implemented, which is really cool. I can't say that about most other software. One more thing worth mentioning is HighLevel's AI capabilities. They've come a long way since we first moved over. I'm not doing a feature walkthrough here. You can sign up for a free trial and explore that for yourself, but what they've built is legitimately impressive. So there are some real benefits, but it's not all upside. Here's what I would want to know going in. This is something I would tell a friend if they were considering switching to HighLevel. First off, the learning curve is real. HighLevel does a lot. The first time you log in, it can be genuinely overwhelming. They're always adding and changing things, which really doesn't help. But here's the thing that I learned is you don't have to learn all of it. You don't have to understand the whole platform before you can use any of it. Nobody really needs every feature. So figure out what your business actually needs, or maybe what your clients actually need, learn that, and then just add on one thing at a time. But based on real needs, not just because a feature exists. So the mistake is thinking that you have to figure out every feature before you can start running your business on it, and you don't. The second downside is that sometimes they ship features before they're ready. Sometimes you've been waiting on this feature or this improvement, and you're like, okay, great, it's finally here, and it doesn't really work quite right, and that's frustrating. The upside of that is that they do listen and fix things, and it does seem like that's improved lately. It's been a while since I've seen a major, half-finished release, but it is worth knowing going in that sometimes new features aren't really ready yet. The third downside, which I feel like is probably one of the bigger ones, is their support, their customer support. I would say it's inconsistent and sometimes just bad. Our team dreads contacting HighLevel support. We've gotten a lot of wrong answers. We get slow responses where sometimes support tickets take days or weeks. Sometimes there's just made up answers. The one girl in our team, when someone mentions that we might have to contact HighLevel support, you can just see it in her facial expression. It instantly changes. You can feel it. It's an absolute last resort. We hate dealing with their support. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. And other agencies I know that use HighLevel, they feel the same way. I think part of it is that they've grown incredibly fast, and it's hard to keep a good support team when the platform changes every week. Now, to be fair, I have gotten some genuinely helpful help on occasions. They do have some good support people, but I would just say honestly, it's not the norm. But here's how we've dealt with this. And there's a couple of workarounds that honestly end up being better than most platforms' official support. One is the HighLevel Facebook group. There is HighLevel support staff in there, and I found that the answers tend to be faster, but also more accurate than having a support ticket. I think maybe part of it's because it's public. I don't know, but that has been a good resource. But also a newer thing, which is surprising to me, honestly, is HighLevel's Ask AI feature. So within the platform, there's a little button you can click. This is Ask AI. And honestly, I'm skeptical of those things. I usually don't even bother because most of them are garbage. Every software tool I use in the last couple of years has added some kind of AI feature, and most of it is really not worth your time. But this one actually is very, very good. It's one of the best AI tools I've seen within a platform. And the thing is, you can ask it anything like, how do I do this? Or why isn't this thing working? Or like, here's what I'm trying to do. How do I do this? And it knows the platform really well. Like, I mean, better than any of their support people. It responds instantly. It can even do some stuff for you. I've asked it sometimes, like, okay, build this pipeline for me. And it did. It's kind of crazy. So I would definitely suggest using that before you ever contact their support. Most of the time, that's all you ever need. So the honest answer here, honest version is high level support is definitely a weak point, but the ecosystem around it is strong enough that most of the time you won't need to use it. Now we only need to contact their support when there's some kind of issue that's specific to our account, which is honestly pretty rare. So I can't tell you whether high level is the right move for your specific situation. I don't know your business, but here's a simple way to think about it. High level probably makes sense to explore if one or more of these things is true. One, if you're running on multiple tools that don't communicate well, and you're spending real time and money trying to bridge those. Or the technical side of your business runs through you personally and you'd like to change that. Or if you want to use AI to build funnels, automations, chatbots, voice AI, expand what you're offering to your clients. High levels AI capabilities are strong and they're getting stronger all the time. Or if you're interested in offering clients a white labeled SaaS platform under your own brand, high level SaaS mode makes that possible. And a lot of other platforms don't offer that. Or if you want to deploy pre-built reusable setups across clients, you know, different clients' accounts efficiently. HighLevel has this snapshot feature. You might be familiar with it, but it makes it really practical to do that. Basically, you build everything out in one sub account, whether that's websites, automations, email series, whatever it is. And then you create a snapshot of that, which basically just means that everything you've created is a template that you can apply to any other new account or existing account. And you can have multiple snapshots that contain different things or are connected to different plans that you're offering. If somebody signs up on this plan, they get this snapshot, this set of, websites and features and tools and pre-built stuff that you've made. So it's pretty cool. And so if any of those things are true, I would say high level is worth exploring. The case is less obvious if you're already on a clean, well-integrated stack that your team can manage without you. If that's the case, the disruption of switching might not be worth what you would gain. So here's my recommendation, and this is going to be a little counterintuitive. So if you're an agency and you have in mind that you might be reselling high level to your clients, that's what you're imagining that you're going to do under your account as a white labeled, and you're thinking eventually you're going to need the SaaS plan or the unlimited plan. In most cases, what I would suggest is to just start out on the $97 per month starter plan anyway, even though you have in mind that you're going to do those other ones, and then upgrade later when you're ready. I didn't do that. I jumped right into the $497 plan from day one. I wanted to see how the agency stuff worked, but that meant that I was paying for it while I was still paying for all those other tools that I was using and still trying to figure out the platform. If I had it to do over again, I would get my own business set up on the starter account and start cutting those other subscriptions as I replace them, and then upgrade once I actually needed the agency features. So that's just an idea. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. In some cases, maybe it makes sense to start off with the SaaS plan or agency plan. But I created a migration guide that covers exactly what to set up first and in what order to do it. That way you can start saving money before you've fully made the switch. It also covers the mistakes that we made that end up honestly costing us a lot of clients and monthly recurring revenue that we didn't need to lose. Some of those mistakes didn't just lose, some of them lost money and some of them were just embarrassing. And I'll help you avoid those. So here's where I tell you about the link on this page, and I'll be straight with you about how it works. It's an affiliate link. When you sign up for high level through it, I earn a commission. It doesn't cost you anything extra. You pay high level the same price that you'd pay going directly with them. And high level pays me a percentage of that. Wherever possible, if I have an option to give you a better deal than what you would get going directly with high level, I'm going to do that. When you sign up through my link, Here's what happens. I'm going to send you the migration guide that I put together from going through this process with my own client base. It covers the 3 phases that I would recommend for doing that kind of a migration in the order that I do them. So the transition for you goes as smoothly as possible and as economically as possible. And it covers what we did wrong, the mistakes that cost us clients that we didn't need to lose. And then beyond that guide, once you're in and you're getting set up, I want to be available to you. If you get stuck or you want a second set of eyes on how you're building something, just reach out to me. I'll give you ways to do that. My goal is for the people who come in through me to actually make this work, to make this successful. And there's more coming too. I am building a community for agencies making this kind of transition or that are already on that, have already moved over. This is going to be a place to ask questions as you're getting set up, get real answers from people who have been through it, and then keep going from there. I'll be in there. Other agency owners will be too. So the community part isn't live as of this recording, but it's launching around the end of July 2026. So sign up now and you'll be in as a founding member. You'll get first access when it opens. So the link is right here on the page. So start with your trial of HighLevel and I'll get you the guide. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, the link's in the description. Same deal applies. I've tried to give you an honest picture. What genuinely is good about HighLevel and what isn't. I don't know your business, so I can't tell you for certain that it's the right call for you. I just know that it was the right call for us, not because it made everything perfect, it's not, but because it solves the problems that that were actually slowing us down. If it seems like it's worth exploring, then sign up for the trial and I'll do what I can to help you. So you can just reach out with questions that you have. Either way, I wish you the best with whatever you decide.